Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to welcome Ron Finch today, and he is the author of the new book, The Journey. Ron, can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Yes, it's like I've written more than one book, and like many of the books I've written, this one started with a simple idea. I thought, I wonder what happens to an old man, sorry, not quite as old as I am, who gets in his car to head somewhere, and then something suddenly happens to him. And in this case, what happened? The man got in his car. He was headed to a meeting with a guy called Whitey, and he was trying to find something out about an event in his childhood many years ago. He was excited. He was getting ready to go to this meeting with Whitey, and the next thing he knows, he's waking up. He's in the woods, and he knows someone is trying to kill him. That's all he knows. He doesn't even know his name. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what's gone on. He doesn't remember any of that I told you in the preliminary. But he knows he must hide, and he knows he must get out of where he is. And so as the story unfolds, of course, he manages to get out of his vehicle and get out of the little woodlot that he's in, and he eventually finds a ride to a city, and then he migrates to another city, and then suddenly one day on the news, he's in someone's house who's been kind enough to take him in because he met their son. He sees his picture on the TV news. And they're talking about how they've been using drones to locate the vehicle and so on. And it helps in a way because he now hears this name, but it doesn't connect. He still doesn't know. It's a little bit like the fugitive in that sense. And there's a long book, not that long. It's certainly enjoyable to read, but it goes on, and he has these many adventures. He meets up with a fellow that travels with him, and they have many adventures. And at the end, the story unfolds. He falls off a roof. Authors have to invent things. So he falls off a roof, his memory comes back, and then he suddenly realizes where he has to go. Eventually, all the pieces are put back together, and he goes back to his home, and everybody's so happy. And then there's a little bit of a twist at the end of it as well. The person that was pursuing him was his older brother, who he didn't know was his brother, who had inherited a large company. But then when he was closing in on him, the police became involved. His brother went to the Caribbean, and he sends him a letter. I hope you're well. This is the end of the book. Hope you're well and enjoying your new company. And of course, he's old enough that he turns the company over to his oldest son, who's been in the book a bit as well. So it does, I suppose, have a happy ending, but there are many adventures and many scary moments in it and some good moments. So that's what the book is about. It is a journey. And we are all on a journey. Our lives are a journey. Most of us are conscious most of the time and know where we are and what's going on. But at the end, things usually work out for the best.
Ooh, this sounds like a fun book. It sounds very mysterious, very intriguing. Ron, what was your inspiration for writing it?
I like when I go to write a book, and I mentioned this earlier just a bit. I start with an idea, and I just take that idea, and I don't have the whole idea. I know writers do things different ways. I remember a few years ago when I had a different occupation, I was talking to someone. They said, you're a ripple thinker. And I said, do you mean I'm confused? And they said, no, we don't mean that, Ron. It's just that you connect ideas, connect ideas, connect ideas. And I had never written until I was 75 years old. I had other occupations, other careers. And then when my vision was not good enough to drive at night, I retired at the tender age of 75. And then I started writing. And so I'm a ripple thinker, so I get an idea. So when I started that book, I thought, I'm going to write a story about an old man who has an accident, and then things happen to him. That's all I knew. And some days I would go, wow, look what happened to this guy. he's my own creature. But look what happened. And once I started writing, I would then read other authors, and I would go, oh, I wonder what they're going to invent to save this. Oh, look at this on page 278. I knew he'd do something to and create something so that the situation would work out, right? And I think all authors have that kind of imagination. Or if you at least, I've been told by a lot of my relatives, you're just a storyteller, right? Because I can create or invent things as they occur. And so that story just started with the idea of the older gentleman having an accident, and then it just grew, exploded from there. Okay,
I love that. I love that so much. Ron, is there anything else you can share about the book or about yourself or the message behind the book?
well, when I completed the book, I thought, wow, and I didn't know this before, but I completed the book. It's called The Journey, and I thought, that's like the future of it, which I mentioned earlier. And Harrison Ford was the star. And amazingly enough, Harrison Ford and I were both born on July the 13th, 1942, thousands of miles apart. And I thought, wow, that's not the first coincidence that I've run into, right? But I think personally, I think everyone should write. I've dealt with some people that have terrible lives, and I've tried to encourage them to write because I said, if you can write some of this down, you will become the creator. You can gain some power over your situation and circumstances, even if it's just temporarily, and even if it's just in your book, right? So that's what I recommend. But I'm having a great time. Now, you probably won't believe this. I'm working on my 63rd novel right now.
Wow, that's incredible. Congratulations.
So I'm putting out about 80 a year. I've only been able to publish 17, or 16. So I published 16. They're self-published, right? But so it's good. It's good for your brain. It's as I said, sometimes I'm excited. Of course, you get frustrated and angry. Sometimes everybody does. We all have the full, emotional range. So yes.
Well, I love what you said about everyone should write. I think that it can be so healing, especially if you're writing your own story, or even if you're just writing from your imagination. I love that.
Yes, I think it's great for your own story.
For anybody who's interested in picking up a copy of this book, again, it's Ron Finch, and the title is The Journey. You can get it on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and Apple Books, to name a few. Thank you so much, Ron, for being with us today.
Thank you very much for the interview.